Welcome. This is the Founders Atlas, a podcast exploring entrepreneurship around the world through the eyes of visionary founders. I'm your host, Mayuri Reddy. Today, we are traveling to Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, a city bursting with vibrant culture and diversity. I've been dreaming of going to Rio since I was a kid, and every time someone I know comes back from a visit and shares their incredible experience, I start looking at flights. The city itself is breathtaking, known for its sprawling beaches and rugged coastline. It's also home to over 6 million people and sits at the economic and cultural heart of a very captivating country. Brazil is big. It occupies about half of all of South America and is the fifth largest country on the planet. It's also the only country on the continent with Portuguese as its official language. Interestingly, of the 215 million people living there, only 5% of Brazilians speak English, and an even smaller proportion are fluent. Economically, Brazil is a global player. It has one of the largest economies in the world and is part of BRICS, a coalition of emerging economies that originally started with Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, but has also recently been adopting other countries that have been joining the coalition as well. Despite its promise, Brazilians are still learning to navigate financial stability. Fewer than 4% of Brazilians invest, and credit card interest rates are among the highest in the world, sometimes reaching up to, get this, 450%. A new cap was introduced in 2024 to limit that rate to 100%, but even that is incredibly high. For context, in the US and the UK, the average rates are around 20 to 25%. This puts many Brazilians in a very precarious situation because if they lack access to clear financial education or tools, this can be something that really ruins them. And that's where Oinc comes in. In this episode, we speak to Fernanda, co-founder of Oinc, a fintech app that was built for the realities of everyday Brazilians. We talk about money, a topic that sometimes makes people flinch. But the more we normalize conversations about our finances, the less intimidating it becomes. She shares her personal journey to founding Oinc, how culture and upbringing shape financial literacy, how the app aims to usher in a new era of financial freedom, and her advice to anyone thinking of building something of their own. I'm thrilled to introduce you to Fernanda. Welcome. This is the Founders Atlas. Fernanda, welcome to Founders Atlas. So happy to have you.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you, Mayuri.
So maybe just to start off, can you tell listeners what is Oinc and what is the problem that you're trying to solve?
Oinc is a fintech based here in Brazil. We help our users to save and invest and organize their finances. And we do that automatically for them. So we use technology to help them to have a better relationship with money and build wealth.
Amazing. What was the inspiration for you to start a business within the fintech sector?
So actually, the idea of Oinc, it's from my partner, Gabriel. He's the CEO. And we were talking about money. We always talk about money, and it's something that is not usual. I never had conversations with my family, with my parents about money or how to think about money in long term. So it was always about, we need to cut expenses, we need to do this, I need to do that. This year it will be different or something like that. So I never had contact with money as I was growing up. Actually, the first time I had an allowance, my mom gave me and said, like, okay, you have this money for the month. And in the second week, I decided to buy a pair of boots. I bought a Vivian Westwood. It was not a conventional purchase. And it was the first time that I had an allowance. And I was like, I cannot believe you did that. And it was the first time that I had money to deal with, and I was like, oh no, we're not gonna do that. So when I start working at college, I received for the first time some payment for my work, and I was like, okay, I've learned my lessons 5 years ago. I'm not going to buy a new pair of boots. I have to do something with this money, something responsible. And it was super overwhelming because I didn't know what to do. I was like, okay, I have to save this money. Where should I put it?
Yeah.
What I'm gonna do, where this money goes, what should I be thinking? And I started to realizing how inexperienced, obviously, I didn't deal with money before, but how I was not prepared to handle with money, and how I was not prepared to think about how much finance was important in my life. So
Yeah.
it was a really overwhelming experience to think about it and to do the research. And I'm like, my family does not come from a environment that people talk about money. So I started the conversation about money with my partner, and they will help me a lot because different from me, he started investing with 12 years. So he was like super early on that.
You had a very
So he had
different education about money and thinking about it from a growth perspective. Whereas for you, it had come from much more of like a scarcity, perhaps like we have this much money, you have to save it and pinch it. And that's the way you think about it. I was raised very similarly as well.
Exactly. So when you start talking with someone who was already invested with 12 years old, you're like, oh my God, what was I doing? I was buying boots, you know? So he helped me a lot to navigate through it and what content should I consume? What should I read? How should I build my portfolio? So it was so overwhelming. And at the same time, I was like, okay, I have to tell everyone that I know they should build a saving account and have an emergency fund. It's popular in the United States, like with Acorns Capital, but we didn't have any app that could help people to save and invest effortlessly. So that was the starting point because I felt that I didn't have what it takes when I started. So how could we help someone who was starting this journey to make the first step more easy and less overwhelming as possible?
That's amazing that you started something within this space. I actually can completely 100% relate. I think so many people can relate where investing has always been seen, not always, but by a lot of folks, has been seen as something that like rich people do, right? Like, or something that is a little bit gate kept. And it's been amazing to see over the last several years, not just apps that have been coming through where it's democratizing the access to investment, but also just a lot of people who are working in the space, creating pathways for education that are incredibly palatable for people that may not come from a financial background. So creating Oinc and creating an app that is a fintech product is one thing. How do you make sure that the people who you're trying to target really understand what's going on and create an education around it as well? Or is that part of how you've built the app to educate people too?
Yeah, so we started, the first thing that we thought was, okay, we need to show people the result of what they're doing. So how to make the app the more effortlessly as possible for them to feel that they are in charge of their finance. So the first thing that we built for our customers was the saving feature. So a roundup feature and automatic savings feature. And then we started our automatic finance management. So they can see how they're spending their money, and we can put and give that insights saying, okay, you spend a little bit more buying groceries this month than the last 3 months. So maybe you should watch out for the next month, and thinking about how we could make the user more secure of their finance. We actually didn't start through educational features because we wanted to build the knowledge in terms of what it's happening. So building the data, showing the data and saying, okay, this is what you have. This is what you were doing. So the person will have more confidence on the next step on their journey.
So it's basically you're looking at it from the perspective of if they have the proof that this is working, they're going to be more inclined essentially to use this. Like if they see, hey, I'm actually saving money or I'm actually improving this, that's a sales pitch that you guys are doing that it works, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Is there something around money in Brazilian culture? So are there common misconceptions around investing or finance or beliefs around money that you think are cultural to Brazil? Or do you think that a lot of the problems that you are working through are very similar across different cultures, or at least that you've seen?
So that's a big question in a recent historic perspective. In the 90s, my parents and grandparents lived through the confisc of the savings account. So a lot of people who had money on their savings account, money in the bank, actually, they had the money took from the government. So like my grandmother was saving money to the house and all her money was gone. So it created a historical untrust, unbelief on the system. So it it affected the way people handle money and savings. Besides that, we have a huge problem with financial education and credit cards. A lot of people, this is a recent history. A lot of Brazilians are in debt uh, because of credit. Also, the problem with financial literacy is huge and investment as well. Less than 4% of Brazilians are investors. Less than 70% of Brazilians are saving regularly. So the statistics in Brazil are terrible regarding saving money in financial education.
Wow. Okay.
So it's a very unique place, but at the same time, this is like where you have hope. So the government created the open finance here, and it's a great system, and people are in they're the owners of their bank data. So it's easier to have access to better products and have access to better credit because you're the owner of your data. So you can go from institution to other. And we have Pix, which is like Venmo in the United States, but it's public. So no one pays for the use of it. So you can transfer money freely. So it's great. And we are in the front for of these technologies. So we have this balance of things that we're doing very wrong and things that we are doing very well.
It sounds like there's a lot of course correction right now to try and see how these issues in terms of the way people are viewing money are being supported by new technology. So fintech is being prioritized in the government as well as in the tech startup space. So it's really great to hear. But I had no idea about the confiscation of money. That is very wild, but it's also something that, is probably something that's very hard for someone to relate to that is in a country where we haven't had something like that. It's obviously been a really cool journey for you to also build a business as well. You actually started as a lawyer and then you now switched to being a founder. So can you tell me a little bit about what that journey into entrepreneurship has been like for you and how you maybe find support as you're building a business?
So I always wanted to become an entrepreneur. I felt that I was going to do that later on in life. I thought, like when I was young, I thought, okay, first I'll have a career as a lawyer. I will become a partner in a big firm, and then I'll decide the next step. Maybe I will start a startup or another kind of business. I always wanted to build something for my own. My grandfather was a big entrepreneur, so he is a source of inspiration for me. And as I started my journey as an attorney, I didn't feel that I was doing something that was fulfilling some aspects that I wanted my work to fulfill. What I'm trying to say is that I thought I was going to feel a little bit of joy of helping people with my work that I was not receiving that. So I was doing my work, helping the companies that were my client, but I didn't felt that I was doing something that I value.
Yeah.
In terms of what I'm doing for the people around me, for the world, what I'm doing with my work. And so I started to think how I'm going to keep on this journey and become a partner if I don't feel the joy that I wanted to feel with my work. So
yeah, if you're going to burn out from not feeling excited about work, it's going to be kind of hard to reach those big goals that you.
exactly. So I felt like, okay, maybe it's time to stop. This is not for me. I have to try to pursue something that I felt joy doing it. And I always wanted to become an entrepreneur. So I was like, okay, let's go ahead of this schedule because I did have a schedule in my mind, but life, it's not linear. So let's go, let's do this. So,
But when you were doing that, though, I imagine that was probably something that was pretty difficult for people to understand, right? So having a stable career as a lawyer, which is a great career to have and something that probably people look at as you're doing great, you have a stable job, you are in a place in your career that, maybe you're still junior, but you're growing in it. Was there ever any doubt that you had that you were making the right decision? Or did you ever feel any fear pushed upon you by other people who weren't sure if you were making the right decision?
I was very secure of this decision. Of course, when you actually like, okay, I'm quitting my job tomorrow, you get like, okay, what am I scared? You get so scared. But I talk a lot with Gabriel. I talk a lot with my family, and I thought everyone was going to be like, you crazy. As you said, I was in a stable job. I was doing some lectures. Besides of being an attorney, I was very engaged on fashion law community and beauty law community. So when I told my family, like, okay, I'm doing a good job here, but I don't want to do that anymore, they were like, yeah, you should do what makes you happy. And when and they always knew that I wanted to become an entrepreneur at some point of my life, and they were like, it's better if you do that now because you don't have kids, you don't have like what you're gonna put in the line for pursuing your dream is not it doesn't have a lot of constraints.
Yeah.
You don't have to think about, oh my god, what if doesn't work, how
Exactly.
my kid's gonna be. So
Exactly.
they were like, okay, you should do it. If you think this is right for you, go ahead. We're happy, we're gonna support you no matter what. And they're super happy with this decision. And I think it was the best decision that I ever made. Regardless of what's coming next, I'm super happy of what owning that, of doing that for myself.
You're totally right when you say there's never also a better time to do it than when you want to do it. And I think we often scare ourselves of trying to find the perfect time for anything, right? Like, oh, I'll start this when this happens, or I'll do this when I'm motivated enough. In actuality, nothing is guaranteed. We don't know what happens tomorrow. We don't know what the world is going to be like in a year. So if you're excited about something or want to take that risk or that leap, actually, because either way, you're going to learn something, right? Like there's no downside to it besides the fact that, it might be a little bit scary at first, but there's so much you can learn from taking a bet on yourself and like to going all in on something. And I think that is a wonderful lesson of you taking the leap of going from a career that like clear trajectory to something that was a little bit more ambiguous, but something that you really wanted to do. So very great that you did that. And it sounds like you also have a really great support system with your family and your partner. What are some other sources of support that you have? I know that you were in Techstars, so obviously you have like a bit of an ecosystem there. Are there, founder communities in Rio de Janeiro that you lean on, or, maybe other works that have been a source of support or mentorship throughout your journey?
Yeah, this is super important, and it's a huge part when you starting, when like I changed career, I'm a first time founder, so you feel really lost at first. So the support of the community and people who already done what you did and people who are in the same path that you are super important for you to not just to feel assured, but to feel embraced and to feel understood and actually like knowing what's next for you. So for me, Techstars was such a huge validation and such a source of inspiration because I met so many people that I look up to and so people that are in the same journey as me. And I feel very grateful for that because I didn't have the experience in the law universe, but everyone in startup universe everyone is so happy to help and happy to talk. So it's a great place. It's a great environment for you to grow because people want you to grow. They're not competing against you. They have the sense of the community so strong, and it's so amazing to be part of it and see people are helping each other. Techstars help us a lot and open a huge frontier for us to build community, to be part of something bigger and to learn from people from different backgrounds. We have mentors that work for Pepsi, for Amazon, and Google, and people who are starting their business in other places in America and Latin America. So it was very important. And locally, besides having other Techstars founders that we talk a lot, we are active in Cubo community. Cubo is a huge hub here in Brazil for entrepreneurs and startups. So we are very active there, and it's a super important support system. So everyone who's listening is and thinking about starting a business, try the first thing to talk to people that are inserting this ecosystem, and for sure they're gonna help you because people in startup they are very willing to help. So this is amazing. Like this is one of the best part of the community. Everyone is so willing to help and everyone loves to talk about their journey. So
Yeah,
this is cool too.
I love that. So then are you now when you look at these communities as well, and not just as a support system for, going and navigating the business, do you guys also have some pathways for knowledge sharing? And I'm actually just a little bit curious if through that you've maybe found some things that are specific challenges to Brazil that like a lot of the companies that you're working with, like maybe they're not fintech companies, maybe they're doing something in SaaS, but through this community, are you able to knowledge share around potential roadblocks or challenges when entering the Brazilian market?
Yes, definitely. One of the things that we talk about in terms of this shared knowledge of difficulties in acting in Brazil is the law, something that I can have
I know.
something that is useful of my degree. So it's a lot. So we have a lot of regulation in Brazil. It's heavily regulated. Everything's really heavily regulated here. So someone from us looking from outside, one of the difficulties it's shared by everyone is the legal constraints, and also I think we talk a lot about hiring talent. So it's another thing that it's very difficult and it's a shared challenge here.
What makes it difficult to hire talent in Brazil? Is it a talent shortage or is it a quality of the talent?
No, I think it's talent shortage. And now after the pandemic, there is a lot of people working for another countries because it's open. So compete with a dollar salary right now, it's very hard.
Yeah. Okay. So if someone's listening to the podcast right now and they want to work for Oinc, are you guys hiring and continuing to grow over the next year?
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. Okay, amazing. Okay, great. And what is the plan for Oinc? So you right now, obviously, you've started in Brazil, but what are your plans for expansion, if any? And if so, and if you're looking for investment, how would investors play into that growth plan that you have?
So Brazil, it's a huge market, and I feel like we are just getting started here. 90% of the Brazilians have bank account now, so that grew like almost 2 times in the past 6 years.
Oh,
So like besides a lot of new fintechs and new banks, even though we have a lot of banking solutions, and the pandemic accelerated the expansion of the use of digital banks. The market here is huge. So it's like we work besides the side by side with banking and financial as being another type of financial solutions. We still have a lot of work to do, and then to think in the solution for other countries in Latin America. So we need to have the Apple system working in the right way so we can build a solution for the country. Because like here in Brazil, if we didn't have the technology that we had in the past 9 years, we wouldn't be able to do what we built and the type of integration that we built.
Okay, so basically right now you're still in a space where there's a lot of room for you to kind of get things right in Brazil before you try and expand elsewhere. And also, obviously, Brazil is a huge market, right? Brazil is a brick country. Like, there is so much room for what's happening there to be a huge footprint to have, and then to go from up there to other countries. Again, Brazil is also a Portuguese-speaking market, right? A lot of it's, you'd also have to do localization, I'm assuming, for all these other markets if you're going to them as well. So it's not necessarily like, okay, great, we just go to another place, everything is fine. So I get that. But
it's very difficult, and the technology has to be in the place that we could build our technology in the top of it. So it's not like I could just go to Argentina because they didn't, the structure of their finance and the open banking there are not the same path that we are here. So we need to have the integration so the owner of the data can integrate with our solutions. Otherwise, we will have to negotiate bank by bank. So it will be a huge hustle.
That doesn't sound fun at all. I don't think you want to do that. Now, I want to get into the advice that you would have for somebody who is looking to take on the pathway of entrepreneurship. Maybe like you, thinking about taking the leap from, a career to starting a venture of their own. So if you could, for example, speak to a younger version of yourself, or perhaps another aspiring founder, or whether that's in the financial sector, in somewhere in Latin America, whatever it might be, what is something that you would tell them?
Oh, like a few things, I think. First thing, believe in yourself is the most important thing. And people say that a lot. It's a cliche, and it's a cliche for a reason. You have to believe in yourself so you can build things and people will believe in your work. So
Absolutely.
the first thing that you need to do is believe in yourself. The second thing is have a support system. I'm starting with the obvious things. Have a support system. It's even though okay, your family, it's not aligned with you want for your life, that's okay. You can build your own support system without your family. You can make friends. You can find people that share your values, share your vision. And this is so important because you need that to every other step that you're going to take in this journey, because it's a lot. It's a lot, and it's very rewarding, but sometimes it can feel like a roller coaster because you will have a day that everything goes wrong from morning to night. So you need to have someone to turn to because sometimes it gets rough. All things change overnight. So it's good if you have someone to count on. So I think have a partner, build with someone. It's a very lonely journey, but it's to know that you can count with someone that share what you're feeling, or at least understands.
I definitely meet a lot of solopreneurs. And of course, I think there's so many amazing things that you can do as a solopreneur. I am as well. Obviously, I'm doing this podcast on my own and building my own marketing ventures. But there is actually a lot of value statistically if you have a co-founder and you're building with somebody. Companies that have 2 or more founders are much more likely to be successful for a reason. Like having that support system of someone else who can go on the journey with you and be there beside you while you're kind of navigating this stuff has a lot of long-term effects into the potential for you to be successful. So I just wanted to throw that out there because it is something that's really important.
Yeah, it's super important. And I feel like sometimes you have doubt. Sometimes you feel like, oh my God, this is so hard. And it's nice to have someone that's sharing that with you and say, okay, we're gonna be fine.
Yeah.
Just to have someone to have your back and say, you got this, we got this. So it's very useful to have that support system. And if your support system is your partner, it's amazing. The third thing, I think it's also related to support system. Have a therapist. I think this helps a lot.
Yeah.
Because people take mental health for granted. And when you're building a company, it's very stressful because it's a lot, because you're basically an octopus. So you handle a lot of things at the same time. And it can be overwhelming, especially if you're starting the funding round or launching a product. So are very intense moments of the company. It's important to have a place where you can not just think about and talk about what and how are you feeling, but understand how to deal with everything that you're going through at the moment. So it's deeper than just vent to a friend and talk to someone on your support system that shares that, but understand how that affects you and how your beliefs shape the way that you feel about something. So it's very important to know yourself better. And that's like a long time thing that you're going through that through all your life, and understand why you're feeling better, understand why you're going through better. But like to build something, it's also important that you are in better understanding of what you are and who you are. So I think this is very important to me. Have a support system, and part of your support system is having a therapist and to understand you better, to build that emotional intelligence that it's very necessary for a founder and for someone that is trying to build something.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I could not agree more on that third point. I actually just recently met somebody here I'm actually in Cape Town right now. And I met a woman who is a psychiatrist, and we were just talking specifically about this, about how so many founders really struggle with their mental health. And it can be really challenging to even reach out for support, even just to like have someone to talk to, even if they're not burnt out or whatever, just to even like maintain a state of well-being. Therapy is not not something you need to go to when you're at your breaking point. It's actually something you can go to throughout your journey to ensure you don't reach your breaking point.
Exactly.
It's such a great tool. Yeah. And so, I was recently reading something where they were doing research on founders, and it's like an alarming percentage of founders want to leave the company that they founded. That's like 40-something%, really, really high. And a lot of that has to do with the stress of being able to manage the whole venture itself. So I think that therapy is a great pathway for people, if they can have access to it and afford it, to make sure they're creating a space where they can not only express themselves, but find frameworks to better handle the pressures that come with entrepreneurship and the ambiguity of that. So yes, that's great. And you also mentioned this, you were talking a lot about your values as well, about how those are something that you can use to make sure that you're aligning with the right people as well. So curious, what are some of the things that you value, and maybe how do you build those into your business, or how are you trying to build those into your business?
I love to read about building culture in the company, and this is something that empirically doing that, it's super hard. And I was rereading the hard thing about hard things. It's something that he talks is like you're trying to build a product, a startup, and at the same time you're trying to build a company and company's culture and what people value in your business as a collective of people building something. I feel that one of the drives I think that everyone in my team share is the passion that we have about what we're doing. I think that's something that's necessary. You recognize the importance of your work align with what you want for your life. We are driven by helping people with our solution. So everyone here sees the value of their work on and the impact that we are doing. So sometimes you are just fixing something on the app because the button doesn't work right. And it's like, oh my God, why I'm doing this, you know? And it's like, because this is helping people.
Yeah.
This is helping people to have a good relationship with their money because this solution works for that. Sometimes when we're talking about custom support, it's super important for us when someone enters in contact. We wanted to build for the customer the best interaction that they will have on their day. So the expectation is high. So in every touch point that we have with the customer, everything that we do, like in terms of the engineering, we're always trying to show and work with the team, thinking about what the customer will feel. So it's very important for us to be empathetic and to always put in perspective what the customer, how is the customer journey to get here. It's super important for how you relate to the work that you do, how much you care for that.
So it sounds like you're very customer centric way into building your company, and you're really kind of putting that in the DNA of what you're doing as well. We're getting to the last couple questions. This is something I ask everybody. I do kind of think I might have a little bit of an idea of what your answer is going to be, but as you're building this business, what does success look like to you?
This is funny because when I was younger, I mentioned it previously, I felt that success was build a legacy because my grandfather built something huge and everyone's so proud of what he did for the family. So I grew up with that. Like success is doing what your grandfather did. Success looks to me like I feel that I will achieve that when we were able to, and this is aiming really high, reshape how people deal with money in Brazil, making the most effortless experience. So everyone who's leaving the college and starting their lives will think, okay, I have my banking account. I have like 5, 6, 7 banking accounts because this is a reality in Brazil. But I also have an Oinc and I understand what I'm doing. Okay, it might be a mess regarding how many credit cards I have, but I have all centralized here. I understand what I'm doing. I'm doing well thoughtful decisions. I'm doing what's best for my future, and I'm being able to live with money without anxiety and able to navigate my financial journey in more stable waters, you know?
That's a big goal. It's a huge goal.
Yeah, it's a huge goal.
Yeah, but I love it. I think I think it's amazing you have a huge goal. If success to you was getting 100,000 users or having an exit, that would not feel like the person that I've gotten to know. I think that having a goal that is big and audacious is amazing. And also the goal that you have is to help the people around in your country have autonomy with their finances. That's a really beautiful goal to have. So great. It's great. You should feel really proud that that's what you're thinking.
Thank you. I know, like I'm aiming high, but this is how this is what I'm supposed to do with my time. If I'm going to shoot for something, if I'm going to aspire something, it has to be big. So what's the point?
Absolutely.
So that's what I'm doing. This is what success will feel like when I feel like we help a lot of people to get there.
Yeah. I love it. Great. And how can we help you in your success? So someone's listening right now, whether they're a potential customer or they're an investor, tell us, what are the ways that we can support Oinc?
Okay, if you're a customer, download our app and please give us feedbacks. I love feedbacks. It's very useful. This is how we grow. This is how we keep improving. And if you're an investor, reach out. We are starting a round in a few weeks, so it's gonna be a huge moment for us.
Are you doing pre-seed right now, or are you in a...
Yes, we are doing a pre-seed round, so I'm super excited. And we're starting in a few weeks. We are starting some conversations. So if you're an investor, please reach out.
Great. And you're looking for species, angels, or are there other specific types of investment types that you're looking into as well? Just for context.
VCs and angels, we started the round with a few angels already coming in. So that's what we're looking for.
Okay, amazing. So great chatting with you, Fernanda. I think that what I've taken so much from you is how vibrant you are, but also how excited you are about creating something that's actually really building a stronger economy and a stronger Brazilian community around finance, which is really great. And I think that the fact that you have these really big goals is demonstrative of the fact that you're a big dreamer, which is great. And I think something that a lot of people will be inspired by. So thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me today. And for everyone listening, go support Oinc. If you are not in Brazil, follow their LinkedIn page and their other socials. I'll also put Fernanda's information there if anyone wants to reach out to her, whether you're a potential customer that wants to give some feedback or you're an investor who wants to get in early on a company that's going to blow up in Brazil. So thank you again, Fernanda. It was so great chatting with you.
Thank you so much, Mayuri, and thank you everyone for listening.
Thanks for tuning into the Founders Atlas. I hope you enjoyed the ride. To learn more about what Fernanda is building at Oinc, head to our show notes for information to download the app, as well as reach out to her directly. And if you could subscribe, give us a follow, give us a rating. It means more than you know to show support for the podcast. Tune in next week as we travel to Budapest, Hungary.